Hello, I'm Richard Raffan. 2 days ago I made this little pistachio bowl out of a blank which was quite split. I wasn't sure I'd get a bowl out of it at all. Anyway, I ended up with this little round bodied bowl which has since warped a bit, very much as I might have hoped, and I shall use this as a kind of nut bowl. I must apologise up front for the quality of the sound. In the first section I forgot to switch on the microphone. Here's a closer look at the block. You can see a big split there coming in there, the other end, big split. So that will be the bottom anyway, just because the bark coming in there. On the top I've already scribed a circle here with dividers, and so I hope to lose some of the splits off either end. I'll just cut this into a round and then see what we've got. Jam it to a halt. Right, looking a lot cleaner at that end. We might lose those splits. Right, this is looking a little bit better. There's what might be a split up at the top. And there's a little split here, but that's going to come off anyway because this is not flat. I've drilled a hole on the drill press, just because it's easier to mount it over a chuck. There's a 58mm shark jaws. First thing is to get rid of the splits, and I'm using a 1/2 inch spindle gouge as usual, asymmetric grind. Just to the left of the nose. Come round to the other side and just true up the undulating top. Light. That's better. Right, so there's that split is still there, which comes up to here. And there's nothing higher than that, so that's good. The inside comes to about, or the end of that split seems to go to there, so that means I could have a bowl on a small foot, but I'm thinking probably this is green and it might warp quite a bit, so I'm going to definitely do a rounded bowl on this occasion. So any curve I have here I want to project through the foot I need for hollowing it out, and I want to have this pattern going right away across the inside, which I think should happen. Just go up to the line where the stain is. And in the middle, just mark, float the pencil in, leave a little white dot in the centre, that's centre, which when I come to finish it off it'll be between centres, potentially. Right, so that's almost gone. I can just about feel it with my nail. I can see a little bit more there, so I need to get rid of that. Should have marked it, I forgot. Still, fortunately there's still that there, so I know where to look for it. There's just a hint of a mark in there, and otherwise that looks pretty clean. So I'm going to assume that my bowl's going to be a little shallow dish, and I'll just shape that up. There's a slight split, little split up there, which if it opened up a little bit more, I'd be happy to fill a little thing like that with epoxy. Right, so now I just want to project the curve I've got through and round into the bottom. I could have 3 little feet on this, but I quite like round bottom bowls. It's a shear scraper with a rounded side, so it slides up and down the rest, but for the moment it's going to be used flat. Well, not flat, tilted down slightly. Tilt it up so I get a shear scrape. Really nice smooth surface there. Now I don't need all that foot. I'll just take most of that away. Going to bring up the tail center to mark center. Right, that's that. I hope we'll just go straight round into there. In fact, I can make it a bit smaller. No, won't bother. Just do it like this. Normally I'd have a bit of plastic with wet wood between the metal of the jaws and the wood. It might stain, but I'm going to take that bit of wood off anyway. Now drop the camera so you get a better view. Just get rid of this to start with, flatten it up. Flatten it. Shear cut. A little starting hole for the depth gauge. So just short of that mark. And the 3/8 flute here. In on its side. And then roll it slightly anti-clockwise to pick up the shaving on the right wing. And I don't often go all the way round with the gouge. I feel I have more control with a scraper. radius on the tool, slightly tighter than what I'm trying to cut. I've got a little bit spare there. Sounds better. Now you don't want the whole lot in there at once, only about, the most about half an inch, 15 millimeters or so. Now that's just not cutting on the very end there. And there is a separate little video of doing this so you get a good side view. Tight round inside there, and just get a slightly tighter radius, which will be, try this one. Yep. I need to support it behind the cut. To the other one where it's got a slightly shallower radius. Right, so that gets sanded, and 180 grit should do it. You can start off with the, oh no, it's not quite as wet as I thought, there's dust coming off. Looking at a slight line up there. It looks as though it's something to do with my entry cut. Very slight bump in the middle. Lines aren't always lines of turning, they might be some pattern coming out of the wood, so that feels okay. That will now get some oil, a little bit of boiled linseed. And that gets mixed in with a bit of beeswax. And all this will come off the moment it gets washed up. So this will get washed up, hot water and detergent. And thereafter you can treat it like a wooden breadboard. Everybody knows what to do with a wooden breadboard. They don't seem to know what to do with the wooden bowl, or the same material in a different shape, like a wooden bowl. Looks all right. Now need to turn the back off, which I need. Like, what have I got? Should go over that. So this was the piece I was playing around cutting beads with my beading tool, which I made out of an old gouge. This gets patted out with a bit of non-slip cloth. And do all this with a do it with a 1/2 inch spindle gouge, or probably an 1/8. No, I'll do it with a 1/2 inch flute. So bring it in more or less on its side, then drop the handle and rotate it slightly, and that's what you get. I'm tilting it up on edge, and I get a shear scrape with the left wing. Quite feel fantastic cutting up there, so that it portion of the edge must have been just a little bit blunt, or not quite as sharp as I'd like, so shear scraping with the shear scraper, tilt it up on edge. And it's very slightly dished right in the center, so it looks round, but it's got a little bit of a dimple, and that will mean that it will just sit on a table fairly square. The 180 again. .40 grit. This is cross grained, so that when I do the last little bit I can just shift the little push, just slides the grain, but in fact the tail centre is barely going round, which implies that that's well and truly on the held on the chuck, all jammed on. I'll take this off a little bit more. Oh, I think I'm even going to crack this right off. I'm not going to move the camera because so you can see it might fly off. Right, rest isn't quite high enough. That's very awkward because I've got one hand keeping the bowl on the chuck. Right, and I suppose I could just, I've got a skew handy here, I'll just put a couple of little grooves on just to show that it was turned.